Bill, will you do us the honors of starting the pledge? Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So I'm looking for an approval of the meeting agenda for tonight, which has essentially one action item.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
I'll second.
All for it, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. And we will go ahead and do roll call. Kenzie, can you please do a roll call for us?
Of course. Tina Seifert.
Present.
Sean Culler is not here. Dan Sander is not here. Kelly Stravens.
Here.
And Andy Van Hees.
I am here.
Wonderful.
Perfect. Are there any public comments concerning the action items?
No?
Wonderful. So the action items, first of all, thank you so much for your patience. I really tried very hard to get this out on Friday to you all in your packets. But as you know, that both Lynn and I started it functionally on January 5th. So getting our arms around all the numbers has been a bit of a challenge. But I would like to walk you through the presentation. As you recall, the last city council meeting, I kind of floated an overall philosophy of an incremental change, knowing that we might have some stuff going on. So I went ahead and had that, number one, costed out from where our 2025 budget is, where we think we're going to end up landing, but we won't probably know until mid-February even what our very good idea is. So this is, and then also 2026 budget. And then I had them do two different models. One was that approximate 5% increase for the water, $1 a month for the capital improvement, and then just pulling through all the county mandated changes and not touching it internally at all for ourselves. And so this is what this looks like. And if I can get you onto page, so it marches them out, but if I can, the real money is on page 3. Water rate increases.
Yep.
So if we look at our 2026 budget and we do nothing, we make no rate adjustments, we are on pace to be $114,678 to a deficit for our water rate system. If we do just the approximate 5% increase, and it actually ended up being just a little bit more, then we're at a loss of $65,000 projected $488. If we go for a break even, the break even, making universal changes across all connections, then actually created a surplus of $547. We can't actually exactly break even. And so if you go to the next page, that shows what the estimated residential rate changes are for the customer side. And what that will be is, obviously for status quo, we just defund one of our actual reserve accounts to pay, to supplement. I do not advise that. If we do option 1, it ends up being a 6.6% increase to our customers or our citizens. And that, again, is a loss, but we would revisit it partway through the year as we see how the urban's coming through and then also how our actuals are. If we go for break even, that is a 20% increase. And since there's potentially other changes in the pipeline, i.e. the urban contract, and then also us looking at it has been expressed by the council that we maybe look at a comprehensive rate study and think about, is our overall pricing philosophy even the right one? Because right now it's average citizens are supplementing our irrigation connections or high utilizer things. And so since we were going to check all that, I kind of would not advise us increasing it by 20% only to go and make changes potentially 6 months later. So that's where we are with the water. As you can see, I have recommended the 6.6% increase because we can't lose ground. We cannot afford to lose ground, but it allows us that little bit of time to start doing some of the things that are already in the works, i.e. the urban and then the rate study. Any questions around just the water rates?
So in terms of capital improvement revenue, last time we looked at this, we know that we have to I think it was council's recommendation to realign the tank. And is that still within a 5-year time frame? Or is it-
Absolutely, it's still within a 5-year time frame. I would call you to page, sorry, they're not numbered. 1, 2, 3, 4, but it says water rate, oh, sorry, no. You're just gonna go to the second page, right behind the title page.
Okay.
So, one of the things I'm gonna start working on with Public Works, and I know, Councilmember Stravens, you're gonna be part of our, Public Works huddle with, Councilmember, Sander, so, you would have insight on this. Just like we have a tip improvement, so we kind of have a sense of what we're gonna be doing over the next 6 years for our transportation and our roads.
Mhm.
I would like all these nebulous projects we've just been generally talking about, oh, we're gonna upgrade the VFDs, we're gonna, do the lining. I would like to get us onto, it's not mandated by the state, but I would like us to have an overall project plan so that we can start seeing, hey, we have this kind of slated for, 2 years from now. We have this slated and we can still move it just like we move the tip, but we have our hands around that. Right now, what we have is a budget for projects, and the projects are usually unspecified, and then what we actually do. So for instance, I'll call your attention to the 2025 budget. Under capital improvements, we budgeted under the previous mayor to about $250,000 for capital improvements last year. We spent 75,000 approximately, and you might ask yourself, well, Shauna, I don't remember us doing any of the cast iron stuff. And so when we did a deeper drill down on this, what I found out is it was professional service fees related to the urban wholesale and capital improvement plan and stuff. And so I would like us to start being able to talk about those projects. What do we have planned? Because right now all we have is budgeted. As you can see here, we have approximately $84,000 budgeted. I don't have an actual project to tell you what we were planning on spending that to, and I want us to get us to that place.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think that it would make sense that we have a 5-year time frame, and then we have like a 10 and a 15, right? And so we're hitting our marks where we're saying, so in commercial real estate, that's what you do, right? It's we know we're going to need a new roof in 15 years. We're going to budget for that, but we're going to put away so much for HVAC, right? Heating, air conditioning. We know that we're going to have this and this and this. So, yeah, it seems, unfortunately, that we've been kind of shooting from the hip. So to actually have a plan, I am completely in favor of. I would think, Andy, that you would think the same in terms of your experience in construction.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying.
Okay.
Because as you know, we've had presentations multiple times, and we know about the long range. Hey, here's what things we got to get done in the next 10 years, and we know that number is around 3 million right now. And that's kind of where we stop the conversation. I'd like to say we got to start moving on some things. Let's start breaking them out and planning on them across the way, because we may end up having to pay as we go, and we may not get the funding. So we should probably start mapping that out.
I think we've learned that, right? So, Tina, what do you think?
Excuse me, I agree. I think that's a really good strategic plan. It's like with the tips, just having a good eye out on what's coming up and delegating, basically.
I think
Absolutely.
it makes sense too for the public, right?
Absolutely.
And so if you do I think we could probably do a 10% increase for 6.6 or something. But you need to be able to show the public, this is why we're doing a 10% increase, right? And so I can tell you, my wife, she's not in the audience, but she's saying, why are we having, it's been increasing, what do we have to show for it, right?
Yeah.
And so I think if we have an actual program to say, this is what has to get done, right? So, and I would tell Welch Comer, do not show us again a replacement of the standpipe. We don't need to do that, right? In our lifetimes.
Right.
All we need to do, so I don't want to see that another darn report.
Okay.
What I want to see is recoding, and that was substantially cheaper, right? So we don't need to see the option of standpipe replacement. What we need to have in is that we're going to recoat the inside, right? And that's realistic. So I think once we have a clear plan and people know that, and I would say do a 5-year increment, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. That way we're planning for the future. Everyone can see this is, so we don't have surprises like the cast iron replacement, right? That was a little bit of a shock.
So thank you for your comments, council member. Two things. So first of all, there may be a plan. I don't want to indicate that certainly the gentlemen know. And I do think it is actually, if the council can agree, I do think we should look at all things. I get what you're saying. Let's not have Welchcomer, but I do actually think we need to stay current with any potential things, because there's a difference between preventive maintenance and us projecting what we would like to progress. We also need to keep our fingers on the pulse of things breaking that we didn't know were going to break, type of stuff. And that's where I've heard a lot of feedback around the cast iron. Now that I've been talking with other purveyors, there's a big question mark in my mind whether that's even an important project today, or whether we should just always have on hand ways to repair it when things like Liberty happen. And we should, like you're saying, focus on the lining and stuff. Also, in your 5, 10, 15-year increment, we can certainly do that plan. I would also like to have a detailed 5-year plan. Like, like us, or I basically want to mimic the tip,
Yep.
but also have it for that. So that's my goal for this year.
Yeah, I think we should go to Welchcomer with clear directives. When we had the last report, half of it, I'm not exaggerating, I don't think, half of it was focused on standpipe replacement. And it seemed like a scare tactic. I didn't appreciate that. No, bring us realistic. We're not going to replace the standpipe, right? Not in our lifetimes. It's, how many million was it? But if we keep it recoated, which is common sense, I think that's what people want in local government, is simple common sense.
I think so too.
So I think we tell our engineers.
But I honestly, but I'll operationalize it. You don't need to delegate what we're going to do with the engineers. What we need to get is overall policy direction here. Can we rein it back into the topic of today, which is the rates?
Yes.
But to your point, I agree with you. We need a multi-year plan. This is one of the reasons why I've invited both you and Dan Sander to a monthly huddle and an ad hoc new committee that's called Public Works Committee, so we can start rolling up our sleeves and getting at what you say are those common sense principles, because I would agree and echo those wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. So.
Okay. Thank you for your passion, Councilmember Stravens. So moving on from water rates, because we still have two other, and capital improvements, which is still just at the $1 per connection. So just so you know, that's what has been modeled out and what the ordinance that I'm going to ask for you to look at tonight. In addition to that, we have, if you can turn to now the section called Sewer Utility Expenses and Revenues.
Okay.
Basically, this is just a status quo. I know that you brought up at the last meeting, we do want to potentially look at, is there capital improvements that need to be done there? I have done some querying around, well, what would, unlike, what project should we do? The cast iron versus the lining versus the standpipe? We have nothing like that. Basically, we have some lift stations and we have some tubing and stuff, and we wouldn't do anything unless they break at this point. We have $53,000 in reserve. I'm recommending to the council, we just go ahead and hold the line. We don't do anything to the citizens that is not being mandated as a pass-through from our new county agreement. And so that money is specified here in the sewer rate changes. Because that is already going to increase it about, $5, $6 a month. And that is not something we are allowed to not pass through. That's being given to us by the county. So that is pretty much the sum total. There's what we can't change, which is the sewer rate. That's going to be about a $5, $6 change for our citizens a month. I personally don't feel comfortable adding anything on top of that because I have nothing that I'm trying to build on top of that. in contrast, I do think we need to keep accelerating our rates, because we're not even at break even yet for our water system. And much to everyone's point, I think we need to be continuing to put money away for capital, because what we do know is that we will be spending something and we will not have enough. So that's my recommendation. Because I did not get this to you and have you able to look at this over the weekend, I am fully prepared for you not to make motion tonight, but I'm also welcoming you to make motion tonight. The only difference is if you make this ordinance, draft ordinance, which reflects option number 1, it would go into effect for February. If we wait until the February meeting, which is also an equally reasonable request or reasonable response, then it would go into effect for March. So I would almost say, in light of how many people are available, well, actually, I'll leave that to you guys to decide which what you would like to do. Take this on as information or make motion or make action.
Okay. So I would say the only comment I have for sewer utility is in the future, I'd like to see some capital improvement. But I think we need to have a good idea of what could potentially, so if you think back, I know on South Riverway, it was 1996 that it was put in.
Yep.
So we're looking at 30 years.
Are you talking about sewer?
Sewer. So I would like the guys to do an analysis.
Will not do that this year because
and we can do it next.
Because we have our hands. What we do know is we need to absolutely be doing something with our water system, and there's only so many hours, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 employees for the entire city to do all of city operations, which falls under my purview. So I really feel like what I would want us to do is focus targeted energy around our water system, which has to change, but absolutely. That would be the exact kind of thing I would expect for us to discuss in this, again, new public works huddle that I've provided for you and Dan to interact on a deeper level with the public works and say, hey, is this something we can pre-plan? But I think sometimes there's a sense that, oh, well, I want you guys to do this month. Our whole year is already booked out.
Right. Exactly.
So there's not a lot of...
maybe we look next year, right?
Yeah.
And so at some point,
Yeah.
I'm not very comfortable with how much we have in the fund.
Okay, fair.
For municipality. So the only thing I would say is looking at water rates. So let's see. The option 1 is 6.6. Is that? And that's the proposal.
Yeah, and so that is my best attempt to actuate what we discussed at the last council meeting, which was an approximate 5% and a $1. As you know, once you actually get into the individual numbers and it's brought out over that many connections, you're going to be off by just a tiny bit. So we decided to err on the side of 6.6 instead of under 5.
Well, if we did a 10% increase, I don't like seeing that 65,000. Right. So is that at 5% or did I see it?
It's at 6.6 in actual, because what you can say is, oh, I would like to see a model at about 5%, but then when they actually do that per all, you know what I'm saying? Like we already have locked in ratios of what that is. So as that pulled out, it turned out you can either come in under 5% or a little bit over 5%, and we would decide to aim at a little high. So are you wanting me to model that out again at approximately 10%, knowing it might come out at 11 or 12?
I'm inclined for that. What do you think, Tina?
I was almost thinking if we kind of stayed at the 6.6 now, but potential kind of look at for future, but like that.
This is the work
right. So
I apologize.
No. Basically, if another increase goes in, like for next year, potentially. I mean, that's
or potentially even this year.
Right. We could go 6 months and kind of like a review type thing because then we'll have a little bit better idea. But then you got now that I'm thinking out loud here, the community would be, why are we doing 6.6 now and then 10
Well, we already
If that
stated it
would
at the last meeting.
Mhm.
We're going to do a comprehensive rate study in the summer, and that is gonna cost us money to do such a comprehensive rate study, but to me, we know that there's a disparity between the irrigation connections and the residential connections, and what I've heard from this council is we don't wanna just keep amplifying that disparity, we wanna look at the data of what would it take to change to a different pricing model. We've talked about consumption-based model, both under Kevin and then last month under me. But I think that those things need to actually be modeled out. You can't just like, oh, I mean, sure, it sounds great.
Right.
Right, right.
So that's one thing that can happen. Another thing that can happen is we could actually complete the Irvin deal, and then that changes a little bit of this picture as well. But I'm inclined to do whatever, however you want. If you want me to remodel at 10% approximately, knowing that it could come in at 11 or 12, happy to do that. On behalf of the customers, though, they are already being hit with at least a $6 change just on the sewer side, on top of the 7% I'm already proposing, just so that we can kind of keep pace. But
Right.
you bring up a good point. We are not at break even yet.
Yeah.
We will still be robbing one of our accounts if we cannot,
Andy, what do you think? Andy?
I think that we can give to customers to see the better.
Okay.
Hitting customers with multiple charges in a row of $5, $6, $7, $8 a month, and you add them all together, that's a big hit for a lot of people. So the more options we have, the better. And I do like the idea of getting another model that can, even though it could be 11 or 12%.
Okay. And I would think that we can wait until next month where we have more counsel here. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I mean, especially for a fixed income, we're proposing substantial increases, right? What I don't like to see is that we're in the red by 65,000.
Yeah.
I'd like to take that down, but we don't need to do it.
Table it until next month, get everybody's opinion and everybody's thought next month.
Okay, that sounds good to me. I mean, I would say if we could, I like kind of round numbers. So if we do 6.6, our increase.
So again, Kelly, I don't pick the percentage. The percentage is what it is because we apply an approximate, and then the math is what it is. So
Exactly.
and,
So Andy, I'm all right. I mean, as long as we start addressing this, right? I think that's a key thing, Tina.
Absolutely.
And as long as we start addressing it and not kick it down the road, then I'm okay with what we have. But let's get the entire council on board. I think that I think we're on the right track. I think having a commission to look at it, and then to look at sewer and so forth as well. I think that's the first step. So
just so I can clarify what you're hoping to have for me to have by February meeting, are you, obviously we're dropping the 20% increase. Would you
Right.
like me to have modeled out, just bring back to you what I have today, the 6.6 and then the current resolution that's before you? Or would you like me to have two options that you can think about that day? One is 6.6, which started out as 5, and one will be approximately 11 or 12%, which started out as 10. But again, I can't, once you do it over that many connections, we don't know what percent we exactly end up with. And then two different ordinances, and resolutions, and you can choose between those two.
I think we just keep the 6.6. I think the
Yeah,
more
keep it to the lowest rate that we can right now.
Okay. With the one capital. So I'd be essentially bringing the same exact information
bringing
to you
the same back, yeah.
for a vote next time with more people. Perfect. I thank you very much. I think that was a really fruitful discussion. and again, it's on the sewer side. I have high empathy for what you're saying. And I'm really excited that we're finally digging into some of these details and getting it and also into our customers' hands so that they can be thinking about it too. When I say that we can't do it, our work is already determined for pretty much the whole year. And that's what a little concern too about the Public Works Committee Council that I'm putting together, the ad hoc one, is this is more for education of us and then getting your feedback, just like we do for finance, more real time and not just me bringing things to the table, but more being. But if we're not going to be going to these monthly meetings telling the boys what to do on any given, their dance card's completely full.
Yeah,
So I do want to
understand.
make that very clear.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
Yep.
And I shouldn't have called the gentleman. I should have said our public works. All right, perfect.
So just to clarify, Sean, this exhibit A that you have right here is the 6.6.
Correct. The resolution is based off of the middle one.
Okay.
I didn't think you guys were going to jump in on that 20% one, so we didn't even drop that one for you. All right. Well, wonderful. So we'll move on to the next thing. Council information. I have no further action or discussion. I know we need to release the room back to the Planning Commission. Is there any concluding thoughts you guys had in regards to water? I would just put it in as a thought. We really should do a comprehensive rate because that is going to become such a big thing. We want to have that be data driven. And I'm honestly going to even hope that we can do public presentations around our findings and not just at city council meetings, but literally start like we did with the turnabout or as we did with the Argonne project.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good.
Wonderful. Any public remarks? Going once, going twice. Any council comments?
Just actually a question. What's the status of the urban?
Still in
Since we're
negotiation. Definitely always willing to talk to any one of you individually, but I'm, as you don't usually broadcast where we're at with negotiations.
I was just curious.
But we are still actively working on things.
Sounds good. Thanks for everyone's hard work. Appreciate it.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Thank you for being here an extra day.
Well, we have another meeting right after this. So, all right. Motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn this special meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.